You can open an AI app today, type one sentence, and get an answer in seconds, and from the outside it feels almost effortless. You ask it to write an email, explain a problem, summarize a document, or generate an idea, and it responds like the future is just sitting there, waiting for you. But the part you do not see is the part that matters most. Behind that simple answer is a hidden machine, giant data centers, servers running day and night, and chips so powerful that the companies who control them are not just selling technology anymore, they are selling access to the future. And here is the part most people never think about. If the chips behind artificial intelligence can be blocked, restricted, or controlled by one country, then the AI tools you use every day are not just products, they are pieces of a global power struggle. So here is the question I want you to keep in your head until the end of this video. What if America's plan to protect its AI advantage did not just slow China down, but helped create the one rival Nvidia never wanted to face? Because by the end of this story, you will understand why the Nvidia ban may not have killed China's AI ambitions. It may have helped turn Huawei into something far more dangerous, a necessary alternative. If you want the version of business history that does not get explained in everyday headlines, subscribe to my channel. I do not just follow the companies everyone talks about. I break down the more important information hiding underneath them. Back to the story. For years, one company stood at the center of the AI future, Nvidia. If you wanted to build serious artificial intelligence, you needed the kind of chips Nvidia made. Not because Nvidia was the only company in the world making chips, but because Nvidia had become the company everyone wanted, everyone needed, and very few could ignore. That was the real power, not just the chip, but the access, the software, the ecosystem, and the door. Nvidia became the company sitting underneath the AI boom. While the public talked about ChatGPT, image generators, and AI replacing jobs, the real battle was happening somewhere far less visible. Inside data centers, where billions of dollars were being poured into the machines that make artificial intelligence possible. Jensen Huang, Nvidia's CEO, was no longer just running a chip company. He had become one of the most important men in the AI economy, because the world's biggest companies were suddenly lining up for the machines Nvidia could provide. Startups needed Nvidia, cloud companies needed Nvidia, AI labs needed Nvidia, governments watched Nvidia, and investors treated Nvidia like it had found the hidden engine of the future. But that is where success became dangerous, because when one company becomes that important, politicians stop seeing it as just a business. They start seeing it as leverage. If Nvidia's chips could help build the next generation of artificial intelligence, then controlling who could buy them became a weapon. And once that happened, Nvidia was no longer just playing in a market. It was standing in the middle of a power war. So the United States tightened restrictions on advanced chips going to China, and the message was clear. China could keep building AI, but not easily with America's sharpest tools. At first, the strategy looked cold and logical. If China needed the most powerful Nvidia chips to compete, then cutting off access could slow China down, protect America's advantage, and keep the most advanced AI tools away from a rival superpower. But corporate warfare is never that clean. Because when you lock a rival out of your system, you do not always destroy them. Sometimes, you teach them they need to build their own. For Nvidia, the ban created a brutal problem. China was not some tiny side market, it was massive, with AI companies, cloud companies, research labs, and a government that understood exactly how important artificial intelligence could become. But now Nvidia had to walk a dangerous line. Sell too much and Washington could strike, sell too little, and China would start looking elsewhere. So Nvidia tried to adapt, creating chips designed to fit within the rules, while trying to keep access to China without crossing America's red lines. But the red lines kept moving, and eventually the pressure started hitting Nvidia too. Nvidia later said US licensing requirements around its H20 products in China created a multi-billion-dollar charge tied to inventory and purchase obligations. That detail matters because suddenly, the ban was not only squeezing China, it was also squeezing Nvidia. The company America wanted to protect was now caught between its most powerful government ally and one of the biggest AI markets on Earth. And this is where the story turns. Imagine being told that the future of your company depends on a machine you cannot fully control, supplied by a foreign company, under rules that can change from another country's capital. That is not just a supply problem, that is humiliation, that is risk. That is a warning sign flashing over your entire economy. Do not build your future on someone else's permission. And once China saw Nvidia as a dependency, Nvidia stopped being just a supplier, it became a weakness. That is where Huawei becomes dangerous. Huawei was supposed to be contained, slowed down, cut off, and made into an example for years. US restrictions had put pressure on the company, and in the West, a lot of people looked at Huawei like it had been boxed in, slowed down, maybe even permanently damaged. But pressure does not always kill a company. Sometimes it makes the company harder, meaner, and more useful to the people who need it most. Huawei did not need to beat Nvidia across the entire world to become a problem. It only needed to become good enough, available enough, and important enough inside China. That is how a wounded company becomes a national weapon. And this is the part Nvidia cannot ignore. Every time America makes Nvidia harder for China to access, Huawei becomes easier for China to justify. Not because Huawei has already won, and not because Nvidia is finished, because Nvidia is still a monster of a company, but because China now has a stronger reason to build around someone else. That is the midpoint twist. The ban may have been designed to protect Nvidia's advantage, but it may also have taught China the one lesson Nvidia never wanted it to learn. You need your own door. That is why Huawei's comeback matters. Reuters has reported that Huawei has been pushing chip design approaches and system-level strategies to work around the limits created by sanctions, and experts can argue about how strong those methods really are. They can argue about performance, they can argue about whether Huawei can truly match Nvidia's wider ecosystem, and they can argue about how long it will take. But that is not the whole story, because this is not just about who has the best chip today, it is about who becomes necessary tomorrow. And necessary companies are dangerous. Once a company becomes necessary, governments protect it, customers adapt to it, developers start building around it, and competitors stop laughing at it. That is how markets shift, slowly at first, then brutally. A company does not need to be perfect if the alternative is dependency on a foreign gatekeeper. It only needs to become the option people cannot afford to ignore. That is why Huawei's rise matters. In a free market, the best product often wins, but in a restricted market, the product you can actually buy becomes powerful very fast. And that is exactly the kind of world the Nvidia ban helped create. Nvidia still has huge advantages. Its software ecosystem is deep, its customer base is powerful, and its chips are still central to the global AI race. Huawei still faces serious obstacles: manufacturing limits, software gaps, production bottlenecks, and the brutal difficulty of catching a company as dominant as Nvidia. But Huawei does not need to conquer the world tomorrow. It just needs to become necessary inside China. And if that happens, Nvidia does not just lose sales, it loses control. Then came another warning sign. In May 2026, Reuters reported that the US Commerce Department moved to close a possible route that could allow advanced Nvidia chips to reach Chinese companies through subsidiaries outside China. Think about that. This was no longer just about chips being shipped straight into China. It was about subsidiaries, data centers, foreign offices, side doors, and workarounds. The gate was not just being guarded, it was being searched for cracks. And every time Washington closes another crack, Beijing gets another reason to pour money, pressure, and urgency into building its own path. That is the paradox. Export controls can work, they can slow a rival down, protect sensitive technology, and preserve an advantage. But they can also do something dangerous. They can show the rival exactly where it is weak, turn a business problem into a national mission, and take a company like Huawei, then make it more important than it ever could have become on its own. So did the Nvidia Ban backfire? The honest answer is complicated. It may have slowed China's access to the most advanced AI chips, it may have protected parts of America's advantage, and it may have made it harder for Chinese companies to train the most powerful systems. But it also may have accelerated the one thing Nvidia did not want: a serious Chinese effort to build an AI chip ecosystem with Huawei near the center. And that brings us back to the question from the beginning. What if America's plan to protect its AI advantage did not just slow China down, but helped create the one rival Nvidia never wanted to face? The answer is this: the ban did not destroy Nvidia, but it may have helped turn Huawei from a restricted company into a necessary alternative. And once China has a necessary alternative, the fight changes. It is no longer just about the fastest chip. It becomes a war over access, over software, over data centers, over who gets supplied, who gets cut off, who gets protected, and who controls the machines behind artificial intelligence. Nvidia may still hold the strongest door, but Huawei is trying to build another one. And if that second door becomes strong enough, the next AI war will not be about benchmarks, it will be about control. One AI world built around Nvidia, another built around Huawei, and the most dangerous question is still open. What happens if the ban meant to protect America's lead becomes the reason China stops needing the door altogether? If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. Let me know in the comments what topic you want me to discuss next.